Hey guys, welcome to the video. Today we're going to go through all things human condition, the emotions, how they affect you in every different aspect, your simulation of them, what you think you perceive as your reality, what's actually going on, and how you acquire the tools that are necessary to shift those emotions and have them not control you, you control them. This is a journey of exploration, and we'll go through all different aspects of how that you come to that realization, then techniques of how you can acquire that state of empowerment, stepping away from a duality, a oneness, a singular, collective, all these different things. And stay to the end of the video as we have an exercise in attuning ourselves to that very nature. Enjoy the video. Absent of the present moment. The Wu-Ji, the stillness, realizing you are not of this body. What can harm you? The name echoing in your mind, right here, right now. The rippling effects, realizing your true nature. All is one, one is all. Welcome to the consciousness of the way. My divine, delectable co-host, High Priestess Jade.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. I'm still got the trailing effects of that incantation.
I know.
At that very moment. I'm just
So did I.
just attempting to feel the residual effects as the audience, as the present moment. I want to thank the Tao for the incredible echoings of the universe, the whispers that is our very action, our very expression.
Yeah, I had my eyes closed and I forgot to open them because you just get sucked into it, and
It's because that's the true nature of all things.
right.
That's the replicating effect. And I am your humble servant and seafood Taoist Master San Ching. Wow. So take a moment and realize the basic understanding of what we are speaking of, which seems to be the repeating effects of all things that everyone notices as someone that is per se in the simulation that people define as the Matrix. And for all those that are new to the channel, they're just hopping on board of this conversation, we are speaking of the very nature, even the parallel, the realization of what that movie represented, 20, 30 years ago. I think it was 95, 97, whatever. We're coming up on 30 years, was a little insight of what we already understood. And of course, almost 30 years later, the realization is, however you experience it, if you've been drawn to this channel and listening to Jade and I share the inner workings of Taoist practices that are thousands of years old, and we parallel them and explore other perceptions that other indigenous practices partake in, or moreover just the journey of you as a human being. This is an understanding, right? So what we want to be very clear on, and we repeat this over and over again, your emotions don't control you, you control your emotions. And so this is quite frankly the plight, the struggle of the humanist. And there's this ongoing narrative that you'll have once you awaken. What's awakening? What does that mean? Well, what is consciousness? What is awakening? You can have it at any moment. Quite frankly, just randomly 30 years ago, my realization and awakening to this whole understanding of the nature of all things, and then it was, materialized and realized with my relationship with the Tao, my relationship as and with Lao Tzu and the incredible immortals and teachers within our lineages that we draw on for direct access information outside of the ancient text scripture rituals that we have abundance of through our lineages. It expands even further than that. And so you come to this awakening, how it could be, tripping and bumping your head. There are infrastructures that people tend to create, and I've been seeing this as more and more over doing this over 30 years in my natural born life, my awareness of my reincarnation and the repeatable experiences that go back lifetimes after lifetimes that bring me to this point. You create an infrastructure, right? And there is no right or wrong way to this awareness. Please take a moment, take a deep breath, and realize that your journey is your journey, and you become insightful with that awakening moment where how do you know you're having, an epiphany, a conscious moment of aha, booyah. Well, it comes in all forms. And it can be as simple as you're reading something that was benign to you, and generally that's sort of the awakening of consciousness, is that you may be familiar with a certain pattern or behavior that you go over and over, and you've done for many, many minutes, many hours, many days, weeks, months, years, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, that same pattern of behavior is fundamentally different. You have that, what? And then you're like, well, I've been here consciously, hundreds of times, and I've never noticed this. I've never experienced this. And this may come in the form of a place, a person, a thing, and all of a sudden it's realized. All of a sudden. Now, how is that even possible? Well, it's like use the imagery of the very nature of being a human being and the realization that your humanness is nothing more than a really a facet of a diamond. And you get to experience consciousness through this journey. So yeah, we're laying it on pretty thick right now with all these different. Now, if you're an OG or you've been to the channel many times before, or perhaps maybe you're right where you need to be consciously to understand what is the very thing I'm speaking of. Mm-hmm. And if not, this is your comeuppance. This is your wakey time, because that's what you're here for. There are no coincidences. You are listening to this material for this very reason. And it opens the floodgates. So getting back to the first realization is you can look at something. You could be looking at this mic every day for a year, and all of a sudden it changes. It hasn't moved, but the structure of it changes. The angle of it changes. You realize that there's a wire sticking out of the side of it that you'd looked at 1,000 times and didn't even realize it was there. These are all signs of your comeuppance, your awakening, and it comes in all forms. And if you dive into it as an explorer of your consciousness is why you are here, you are going to have a incredible realization, because that's the thread. It's like you're looking at your whatever, your shirt, cardigan, whatever you want to call it, and you see a thread, you pull it off, and it just goes wham. It unravels, and it happens that fast. And most people first come up with the roadblock, which is the human condition, right? And so the biggest roadblock is emotions, right? Emotions. And it's so simplistic. And I hear this over and over again, and it really is that simple. Yet people are in a state of disarray, in a state of delusion, and they don't have the validating transmission yet. I'm not saying will not, just yet, that can validate their very experience. So they're in their echo chamber. When you're angry, you're in your echo chamber. It sounds pretty clear. Your intention is razor sharp. You're focused. You know what you're doing. You're clear of it. You're clear on it. You understand it. I don't like this place, person, or thing. It's sobering. It's so razor sharp, your intention. Yet it is such a misdirection and a delusion, because you know intuitively deep inside this is a distraction from the very turmoil that you're balancing. And this is where you can spend a lifetime, and we have, as Taoists, we cut right to the chase. We have many things soul retrieval, soul projection. Now, it's very sexy to be a light worker, a dark light worker, a darkness worker of the light. I mean, we can go, more commonly they call them a shadow worker, okay? This is a very sexy term. It goes in with an exorcist, right? Well, all of the above, as Jade and I are priests, we just, we are, it's in the category of all things that we experience in our reality, because that's all integrated into our day-to-day interactions with other people that are in our stratosphere to level up. That's why they come to us. So this is all realized, right? And so, holy moly, this stuff is real. Yeah, it's like you have, we talk about this. Everything is happening instantaneously in all dimensions. This is the power of Qigong. And most people will say there are opportunities for that to be realized. This is all perception. Understand this. You resonate with that. You resonate with what we're saying. It's just perception. You have to sink your teeth into the energetics of it. That's why we always validate it with the kinesthetic response, because that's when you know it's real. It's undeniable. And so that feeling can come in all different forms, but you generally use your physiology to validate that, right? And, you get the naysayers that may suggest that they can't feel something, but I promise you, if you're in the presence of me, you'll feel it very quickly. In your presence of Jade, we will level you up, turn on your energetic hardware, because it is. Once you build it, as they would say, it will come. Mm-hmm. They will come.
Yeah. I was thinking of this movie. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I don't know now. But basically there was this simulation where they would put you in your deepest, darkest fear. And it would, it would look like it's right in front of you. I have a fear of drowning, and the girl would be in the pool and she'd be drowning and drowning. And the guy would say, it's not real. She'd hear this little voice in her head.
Isn't
Yeah.
That's insurgents.
Yeah, Insurgent or
something like
one,
that.
One of those. There's like
Right,
multiples
yeah,
of
right.
it.
Inception or something like that.
Yeah, and he would be like, it's not real. Like, you have to like let your emotions go and realize that, you're creating this environment in front of you based off your emotions. And it was like, in the scene, she ends up to pass it, you had to like, overcome it. So she ends up like relaxing herself, and then the visual of feeling like you're drowning and you can't swim and I can't breathe disappears. She was like in a pool and it broke open and she flew out of the pool or whatever. But it really is so relevant that when you are emotional, you create your own environment, not the reality. You create the perception of what you want to see, and it's all filtered off of anger, sadness, fear, whatever it may be. If you've ever kind of like watched a toddler have a tantrum, and they're so invested in the tantrum, oh, I want the cookie, and then the mom ends up giving them the cookie, and they're still having a tantrum for 10 minutes, not even realizing it's right in front of them, because you get so invested in this emotion that it completely changes what reality is actually happening. And now it's just a perception of your emotional almost fogginess that you veil whatever sunglasses that you put on, and that's all it is. It's your full in emotions.
Right. And so, when we talk about the emotional state, this is the hottest topic for any human being, because I've come across what they perceive as highly evolved gurus, spiritual people, all that kind of stuff. And when it comes down to the wet ass hour, ladies and gentlemen and ladies, there is a proverbial, poop the bed moment where it's conceptual, it's not realized. And this has happened to me many times over many decades, where I come across these people that have really created an infrastructure, but then there are many aspects of it that they're deficient in. And when it comes down to the wet ass hour, it was just, nothing more than an interesting idea, not something that they could realize. And that really comes with the deep-seated understanding of fear or fearlessness. That's it. Because then you go from one to the other. If you're fearful, you're operating duality. Real, and listen, there is nothing wrong with that. Understand this. As you level up, the frequency, the vibration, all these things maintain themselves, but the emotion will always distract you. It's just like identifying with conscious and unconscious, and we won't go into subconscious, but let's just say conscious and unconscious process. People consciously are operating around 5%, 95% unconsciously. This goes on all the time. This is the same thing with this emotion. You just don't realize that's running the ship. And so, you validate, I'm a good person. I'm a great meditator. I'm a guru. And to validate that is to experience it. So you want to be able to be in all states consciously. So that's why, we do this. I do this with my eyes open because I can see it all with my eyes open. I don't need to be sitting in the lotus position, with 3 incense, bringing in my guides, singing Kumbaya, putting on a 4-3-2 hertz frequency. There are many different things that people put themselves in that state, yet it's a temporary. It's like a Band-Aid. It's not giving you the resolve and the density and validation that's necessary. And so, you'll be in the echo chamber over and over again. And so this is always a hot topic. And I'll say this one more time just for good measure, and all the OGs, everyone that listens. Your emotions don't control you, you control your emotions. And then, people, you can tell where someone is consciously or unconsciously by their receiving or reacting to what it is that I just said. What does that mean? It means that if you're in this authoritarian psyop where you are literally, you don't even realize you're being controlled with your very thoughts, your very actions, you'll perceive that as a moment where that sounds very testosterone, that sounds very young, that sounds very masculine. And now we go down this path because we're going to get into the male, the female, yin and yang, divine feminine, divine masculine. And let's go with the male toxicity, or just toxicity in general. Add these words into any sort of situation, because you are receiving information, words, letters, numbers, symbols. It's all being realized deep within the subatomic level, and it will be identified by you by what you gravitate to. A scripture, a video, a place, person, or thing. It's your barometer. And so if you capture this, and this is the only thing you receive from this video, you will obtain a greater insight and a level up in your consciousness right here, right now, because this is the sort of seed of realization. This is like, oh, I've never heard this before. I've heard this before, but now it resonates with me. Now I understand it. When San is saying this, when Jade is saying this, holy moly, this is on another level. This is what we call about an awakening. Mm-hmm. And it comes in the form of energy, frequency, vibration. But it always comes back to a thought, feeling, and emotion that is the very ingredients of your simulation as a human being. And then you get this awakening, this raising of awareness to realize that you are more than the sum of this flesh and bones that you see before you, the flesh and blood that you believe that you're in possession of, and that is the beginning and end of your journey, this vehicle.
Yeah.
And so when you understand that, all of a sudden, when you believe you are not of this body, what can harm you? Nothing. Mm-hmm. And this is where people are going with the consciousness stuff right now. And we need to, if you're going down the path of you need to affirm, discern, realize, and there's all these different peppering and pattering of different stuff that's going on where you're stuck in the duality, which the catalyst is always fear. Protect yourself. Realize these things, these spirits, these entities are going to consume you. The more magnitude of consciousness is when you realize you are me, I am you. No matter what the transmutation of that may be, whether you are in this present moment or you are 9 dimensions away, which is really inside you, it's a shift of sensory perception, knowing that it's still your sensory perception. Whatever you've come across, a demon, an alien, a solar system, energy, which everything is light, and it transmutes down into a slower frequency that we can identify with. It's still resonating that way. So when I see Jade right here, I am also sitting in the universe. My backdrop is the universe. And I'm experiencing the frequencies and the energies of constellations, planets, as we speak with my eyes open. And so that's validated with this tuning fork, right? And so if I talk to you about the deeper nature of that from a physiological perspective, because of the training with the Qigong, the deep understanding of the alchemy, the inner alchemy that we speak of. So whenever I put my eyes is that backdrop. I'm not looking at a camera. I'm not looking. I am looking at Jade, but she morphs in and out of this backdrop of what I'm seeing, and so all my teachers are present. They're as tangible and as vivid as is she in her form, and we're literally having a kumbaya moment in this very space that is the universe. And the reason that that their presence and their realization is transmuted that way is because of the way that we turn light to wave to matter to particle matter, same, two of the same, half a dozen, 1/6 of the other. This realization is your attention intention. This is a tuning fork. Consciousness is all things. It's not between your ears, and you'll come to that realization. If it's the first time you've heard it, profound things are going to take place. So, hey, all of a sudden now things are realized in a different magnitude. But this is it's like anything, you must cultivate this realization. You can have it instantaneously. One of my students was like, well, you said you can have it instantaneously. Absolutely. 1,000%. It happened for me in this lifetime. That's how I validate it, because I experienced it instantaneously. Over 30 years ago, I was awakened to my direct access to the three Purons, Lao-Tzu, all my Taoist immortals as teachers. They're facets of the universe. They're whispers of the universe transmuted into a form that can be related to me and give me great insight to the nature of all things instantly. Oh, yeah, that chill. Whoa! You felt it. I felt it. She felt. Oh, excuse me, Mommy. Jade felt it.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is part of what we are speaking of. And so how do you get to that point? Well, Shifu, Jiaofu. We can go into that as I continually explore the deeper understandings of my native tongue, Mandarin, and my pronunciation, that I will not butcher it in any way, shape, or form. But my love affair with that has been many lifetimes. And as I promise you, we will start to really implement that here in this channel. In a greater understanding, you are the universe is you. So if you truly just say, like at face value, if I told you that, if I walked out to one of my kids and explained that to them, their understanding of reality is, okay, yeah. That's what we call face value. That's what we call childlike state, because that's you want to reel up, you want to level up. That's all it takes. And the end core of it is your truth is the only truth you need to be concerned with. And so that face value is critical, because that's your gateway to all things. And then you just jump on the gravy train of realization and cultivation with Jade and I, and we teach you all the secret sauce, the magical stuff that is, it's beyond the idea of David Blaine. We're talking about real magic. We're not talking about suggestion or sleight of hand. And there are moments where David Blaine accesses levels of consciousness, there's no question. But most of the time, it's, you deal with these, the people that are in the magical space. They define themselves as magicians, illusionists, mentalists, whatever you want to call it. And anyone who's familiar with Kemetic, Hermetic principles, i.e. the laws of the universe, that one category of mentalist or mentalism is not what we speak of. It's coined that way to give you a definition of the psychological sleight of hand, sort of like manipulation of your mind through just probabilities, right?
And I think it goes back to that simplicity that you said, that really the understanding anything is possible. That when you come to that realization, that is your, like, the gates have opened. That is your passcode to get into ultimate consciousness. When you realize that, the gates have opened, anything is possible, then you start to play the game of, well, is this possible? Yes. Is this possible? Yes. Ooh, is this possible? Yes. Is this possible? Yes. You keep asking yourself these questions and realizing, yes, it is, and being shown that. And that's where your perception starts to really change. And it seems so simplistic, just this belief, anything is possible, but yet has such a profound effect on now the way you're perceiving stuff, now the way you're interacting in your reality, the way you're creating your reality, the way you're viewing your reality, the way you are really taking control of that, and not letting your surroundings or your environment control you.
Right, right. Just like Jade said. I mean, we reiterate that. We go over it many times. We have an app that liberates you and masters your emotions instantaneously, and you acquire a pliable, tangible experience that you cultivate, that's yours forever. And so, we come back to the nature of everything, which is the human being and the perceived relationship with emotions, which is quite frankly the misdirection. It's the misdirection. And that's where people get caught up with it. And, you have these cyclical moments in human history where we go through spirituality, we go through atheism, and then we go back to religion. It's kind of like a cycle. And right now we're in a, let's destroy religious beliefs and embody ourselves in a spiritual awakening. And quite frankly, my understanding of the nature of all things, and my understanding of the nature of all things is quite simple. When you dismiss someone's belief system, you dismiss your own. So that realization means that what? You can be religious, you can be spiritual, you can be an atheist. There will be echoings and whispers from the universe that will show you things that will contradict or expand your very perception. And it will happen in all different ways, shapes, and forms, no matter how hard you beat the drum. That's why the inner architecture of a Nigong realization and building that infrastructure is so profound, because then you can actually consciously be able to direct the energy and affect change in a 3D reality, and it's validated by you, it's validated by others. This is why people immerse themselves in energetic healing, because they get effects, they get results. And then if it's not, cultivated in a deeper, like, understanding, a palpated sense, they get a little taste and then they lose it. They become like, I want to start some energy healing or Reiki or Qigong or all these types of things. If there's not a fundamental infrastructure that you're creating dense energy, understand this, know this to be true. As you ascend, the energy becomes more palpable. It does not dissipate, and it's so high that I can't feel it. Oh, hell no. Know this to be true. This is one thing I will speak on and get you to realize that it transmutes in all ways, shapes, or forms. When you have someone who's highly intuitive, yet they're not so, let's say, energetic, that comes from just where they're at in their own cycle and the ecosystem of their internal alchemy. And that can be transformed. But ultimately, when you're excess or deficient in sensory perception, whether you have more more clear senses and less clear senses, certain psychic abilities, some mediumship, some channeling. All this kind of stuff is sort of a mishmash. It's really not. It's under one category, sensory perception. What do you access? And how do you validate it? Taking that experience, that insight, that information, that realization, and being able to apply it in 3D reality and have it affirmed, and it's not just a figment of your imagination. Because that's really where people get trapped in that. They start a Reiki class and they do a crash course. And I think for me personally, when I look at Reiki, the infrastructure, I think they're not doing their practitioners a service when they do a quick crash course for 2 days. Now, it can be that quick. You can realize it, but most people do it and they're like, I feel energy and I'm doing it. And then they don't really move in a path that can be realized, and there's a level of certainty and a repeatable, replicable sort of scenario. And that's where people lose sight of it. And they're like, I did the Reiki, whatever. Oh, I did the acupuncture. Oh, I did the Chinese medicine. I did the chiropractic. I did the functional medicine. I did. This happens all the time because you want to be able to repeat it as until further notice for human beings, until they're given that awareness. You are repeating things and you want to start something and finish it. The whole desire of your driving force of anything you do in your reality is to finish something. If you start it, you must finish it. That's a nature of the human condition. And so, I've never personally fell into that. And it seems sort of like, well, how could you not fall into it? Because when I realized many decades ago, and I was exposed to this very realization, and I instantly leveled up, was I just accepted everything at face value. And that opened the gateway to recognizing all my past lives, who I am as an incarnation right now, reincarnation, incarnation, whatever you want to perceive it as, my access to my most higher frequency of divine self. Being able to define that, move that around so that you can not be distracted with the emotional content is probably one of the first masteries any human being should realize. And it's really very easy once you get there. And it all comes from the feeling. And once you do that, then you can really have fun. You go off to the races and it starts to transmute and realize in your reality, right? So,
and I think it's important too for people to understand that it's just a choice. When we say your emotions don't control you, your emotions don't disappear. It's like different environments. Just because you say, I don't like the snow and I don't want to live in the snow, it doesn't mean the snow just disappears. It means that you just have the choice now to be like, I can move. I like the sun. I like the beach. I like being by the ocean. And you don't have to stay in the snow, the cold, the iciness. You just have the choice now, and you're empowered to go, oh, I don't like this. Okay, I don't have to do it anymore. I don't have to be surrounded by it. I don't have to be in that environment. I can choose something else that I do like. And I think people do get a little caught up in it, like, oh, well, okay, so you've mastered your emotions. You can never smile again. You can never feel anything again. You have to be very neutral and not have a personality. And it's like, no, we still get angry. We still react. We still get emotional. And then we have that moment where we can snap out of it and realize, hey, I don't have to feel this. I don't have to react to this. I don't have to let something upset me. I have a choice. And that's that awakening, like we talk about, that people come to. And when they do realize that, all of a sudden your whole perception can change and you can change and really start to create all and attract and magnetize all the things that you really want you are no longer a victim. Your emotions no longer control you.
Well, that's the starting point. Then you have to actually do it. So realizing that, this is conceptual till it's not, that's why we validate the feeling. And that way you don't have this ecosystem where you go, insane telling yourself this, yet it's not materialized in your reality because it still controls you. And so that's why it's really important to master how to move the energy, and that everything that is in your ecosystem is energy. Like the emotions that are puppeteering your very perception are interwoven into the infrastructure of your physical body. Now, we validate this within Taoism through the inner alchemy that's been realized by, the Yellow Emperor, the Jade Emperor, tens of thousands of years ago through the whispering of the universe, and it's now foundationally accepted throughout, Chinese medicine worldwide, and is part of the foundation of the Chinese culture. So this is not just some sort of anecdotal thing. This is a repeatable thing that has been realized. That means you get into the groove and understanding of the emotion versus the virtue, where these things are located within your physical body. They're stored within your physical tissue, which starts leading on the other thing. You're a product of your environment. So if you are in an environment where you have this onslaught of people that are what you perceive as negative, this will continually, like a fungus, like a parasite, it will grow. Now, the deeper and deeper you get, you go to sleep angry, you wake up angry, you go to sleep depressed, you wake up depressed, you go to sleep negative, you wake up negative. These are all starting and ending points. That's why we always promote and suggest, starting with a morning and evening processes, because this is so powerful to start your day and end your day with this very foundation. And so when you're doing this stuff, you must realize that that is taking place all the time. And so, well, okay, Sifu, so I'm interested. Okay, I'm in it. Now I've gone past it. I understand the significance of thoughts, feelings, and emotions. That's really the ingredients of your reality. And so most people just get in a psyop, and then they go, I need to validate it. I'm having this absolutely horrible relationship with this person, and all we do is fight, and we argue, and there's conflict, and then it's like, let me go find a therapist to validate that. Okay. So now you go to a psychiatrist, a therapist, someone that's going to validate that you are having conflict with someone else. This is where we cut the mustard, cut to the chase of the realization, because you don't have to be spinning your wheels with this realization. Because understanding that these are nothing more than, hotspots that have been generated in your natural born life or have been brought to you from a past life. Understand this sort of like concept until it becomes real. So, we talk about the emotions being stored in the organs, liver, kidneys, heart, lung, spleen. These are all realized by your emotional state. And within Taoism, you have these emotions that are generated from a place, person, or thing. They're created in the field as a cluster of these ingredients, and they're infused into the infrastructure of your physical body, and they transmute into that architecture, and they sit in what we call the solar plexus, the yellow court, and then they're waiting to be distributed to the appropriate organ. And then when those organs are full, they're excess. There's too much of one, not enough of another. So when you are excess in emotions, you're deficient in virtue, which creates the ecosystem, the harmony, the synchronization that we speak of, that is a fundamental understanding of Chinese medicine. And it goes through into just the rippling effects of like acupuncture. So this is something that's validated for thousands, tens of thousands of years. The Jade Emperor brought it to us from the universe, and it's a powerful realization. And many people lean on elements. They lean on yin and yang. They lean on duality. They lean on the understanding of all these mechanisms. But the truth is, if you get angry, you do have a choice. Just like Jade said, black and white, up and down, in and out. What do you do with that? Well, you need to have some way to disperse it, because it's only conceptual. It's like, I'm angry and it's my party and I'll cry if I want to. And so you can consciously go, I'm angry, but it's so overwhelming. I just really want to punch that person in the face. Like, it's so compelling to me. And that's the deception, right? And so when you master the energy, because everything is energy, frequency, vibration, including what you perceive as your emotions, you can then transmute that with your attention, intention, and disperse it. And so the deeper and deeper you get into the alchemy, the inner alchemy, and the architecture, the energetics, things are palpable that you can use your mind as your mind, not your mind between your ears, consciousness, and you can attune to this energy. And it's literally, because we always talk about the magnetism, you magnetize things. So your magnetism is, you can put your attention, intention to anything. If you're angry, it's an emotion. And then you go in your mind, or spoken word, like inaudible, audible, disperse that energy and it will disappear. But it's like anything, a cultivation, a practice. The more you invest in it, the more it's realized, the more masterful you become. And you just follow the system so that it's applicable. This has been around tens of thousands of years, guys. And so your emotions from conceptual outlook is, they don't control you, you control them. Excellent. We've ascertained that. That's a conscious tick one. Now, I feel this, but it's compelling. It's like, I'm so immersed in it, I can't get out of it. And this is all now an infrastructure of how you've peppered your unconscious to program and write the way you live your life. So it goes on a deeper level. So realize that words, letters, numbers, symbols are integrated into your very fabric. And this is basically the secret sauce that you use to affirm, discern everything in your reality, right? And so there's a feeling, there's a contraction or an expansion. And we start with simple. I had someone on the podcast, Hans Wilhelm, beautiful energy, love this guy. Mm-hmm. And he was, talking about how that's how he navigates through his reality. Now, we had some, different viewpoints on some of the things that he believed in, like karma and stuff like that. That's the whole beauty of your perception of your reality. That's the whole beauty of your truth as you know it. You can craft it any way you want. That's why we always, we show the differentiator between Buddhism and Taoism. It's so dramatic, yet people just clump it in the same category. A Buddhist loves to look at life as a pile of dirt covered with diamonds, and they take another diamond off to find some more dirt. Whereas a Taoist will look at life as a pile of diamonds covered in dirt, remove some more dirt, there's another diamond. In essence, what does that mean? It's good to be me. Mm-hmm. And so you keep repeating this, and it becomes realized. The 72-hour challenge, we always tell people to go on, accept and allow everything in your reality. It starts to build on itself, just like the anxiety, the fear, the energy of anger, frustration, sadness. It builds on itself. So what happens? Your attention, intention, if you are evoking this by your place, person, or thing, and it's realized as your expression at that moment, you have so many different things you can do. The mastery of moving the energy where your attention, intention is so powerful that you fundamentally shift and disperse that energy of the emotion, and it's gone with your very power of your attention, intention. And that's how simple it is, and that's how easy it is, and that's how quick you can get it. Jade would suggest, you must master this ability. That's why Qigong is so powerful. That's why the Taoist alchemy practices are so powerful, because we can palpate it. It's not just like a fleeting moment of, I want the anger to disappear. Let me sit here and sort of like move it out. A lot of people will go to like walking, running, exercise. These are great techniques, but what they do is it's just like, have you ever seen, an overflowing cup? You stop the overflow, the cup is still full. That's what exercise does. It doesn't give you a permanency.
It's a
It
Band-Aid.
gives you a relief. So we get rid of the excess, but still the emotion of virtue is still there. And you do not acquire wisdom, my friends, ladies and gentlemen and ladies, in the definition of what wisdom is, until you're able to look upon past, place, present, future, person, place, or thing, and you're able to not attach an emotion or a feeling with it. When you do that, that's powerful stuff. And that's a cultivation, guys. That's what it is. It's a cultivation, and when you do that, everything is realized. And anyone can have access to it. It's just a system. That's why we are second to none when it comes to internal alchemy. Hallelujah.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to mention that as well, is naturally when we feel an emotion that feels so overwhelming, we want to disperse it, whether it's like external sources, alcohol, food, drugs, sex, whatever, exercise, something. We feel this need to like, okay, I need a relief. I need something.
Well, what is that? It's like I want to bring the audience's attention to that. What is that cycle that Jade speaks of?
Right.
Well, all right. Oh, you want me to answer? Well, it's a humanist cycle.
It is.
So what does that mean? What you start, you must finish. It's habitual in the true nature of the human condition. If you start something, you must finish it. There must be something polarizing because you're operating in a duality. It must be polarizing. Joshua, what does that mean? Shifu. Listen to me. It's this simple. When you experience something, you want to level up or level down as a human being. That's the cycle of a human being. When you step away from that, you realize you are not of this body. What can harm you? Now we're getting into it. It's like, the old, I think I've repeated this little story, 5 times in the last week. The Oprah episode where she's talking to Deepak Chopra, and it's like the 80s, one of the first times Deepak has ever been on her channel, and she goes, hey, welcome, Deepak. I'm so excited for you to be here. And he goes, so how are you? He goes, well, my body's here, but I'm not. Okay, we'll get right back to you with a commercial break right after this, because that was like a mind-blowing head screw back in the 80s that can't be realized. You were saying, Jade.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like like you said, we naturally want to disperse this energy. We want some type of relief, and using those different factors might give it to you. The exercise, the external effects of it. But ultimately, it's just it's like it's masking it. It's putting a little Band-Aid on it. It's pushing a tiny bit of water, but then the next day it overfills again. And then you push it off and it overfills. You push it off and it overfills. And it's this cycle that keeps going on, and this is why, people struggle a lot of the times with addiction and different things, is because there's this emotional factor to it that's not fully being dispersed or realized. It's being Band-Aided, and then it just keeps overflowing. And so when you are able to come to that realization and that perspective shift, all of a sudden you can start not only getting a relief from it, but completely clearing it, balancing it, aligning it to where you want it to be, where you're no longer having to disperse your anger. You're just not angry.
Right. And that's, what's the old expression? Guilty by association.
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about, Sifa? You understand the epigenetic model on this channel. You are a product of your environment. You turn off and on your genes with your thoughts alone. Your expression of that. It's what's above this. Because the consciousness is operating in this vehicle. And it can shift it any way you want. So, give me more or give me less. What do I want? That's the simplicity of it. Yet when you're in the tornado, it's about me. I don't see anything else. It's like so overwhelming. I can't see anything. I'm emotionally distraught.
Yeah.
These are all words that people will use when they're in a cyclone that they can't see any way out of. And no matter how much you tell someone, listen, you're just angry, let it go. Oh, have anyone ever told you that? Are you angry? Just let it go. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Ooh.
Hopefully you haven't told a Gemini that.
Right. And this is where someone's got complete lack of control,
Mm-hmm.
and they're so overwhelmed in the psyop of that emotion that the first catalyst when you say that, are you angry? Why are you angry? This is a catalyst word, right? So the word why puts you in this moment, and then it makes you assess from a human being psychological aspect all the things that bring you to this point. And so if you want someone to stay in a psyop, in a cycle of a rat in a wheel, ask them why they think this way, why they feel this way. But you must wait until they're in an emotional state, because that will really, unfortunately, leave them there for quite some time, if not until they burn out. The energy is so overwhelming, and some people get immersed in these thoughts for days on end,
Mm-hmm.
weeks on
Weeks
end,
on
and
end.
that morphs into a personality, right? Mm-hmm. It's no longer a thought. It becomes a personality trait that is now within your operating system. And so you never need to ask someone why. It's how. How do we heal? How do we operate and move out of this very state that you're in right now? And it's that simple.
And I do think it's very important too, that when you're the observer and not emotional, it's super easy to see all of this in other people. Other people who are really emotional, other people who are really frustrated, angry, having a tantrum, whatever it may be, you can see it within them because you're the observer. You're not in the tornado. So it's very easy to see the tornado, whereas the person in it, completely emotionally distressed, doesn't even realize they're in it. And that's an important thing where it's always like, man, why is San always so angry all the time? And it's like, I can see that, but doesn't even understand it because he's, that emotional thing has taken over.
Right. And so you get down to the intricacies of what is a duality. So you want to cut to the mustard, cut to the chase, start mastering these things. On top of going and using the Way 126, you can go and discover that yourself. OGs understand the mastery of this. You need to feel it. This is part of the humanness, is the feeling. And so most people get into this point where they haven't adjusted their energetics, so they're experiencing thoughts, feelings, emotions that are half a dozen, 1/6 of the other. Feeling is not an emotion. Make sure you understand there's actually quite a difference. So the kinesthetic charge, the feeling, validates all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, you want to get down to shifting and changing things. First, you start with conceptual things that help you sort of resonate. It's like, oh, okay, well, what they're saying makes a lot of sense to me. I do. I feel like I'm a runaway train. I get these emotions, and they transmute into just like an afternoon of misery, a day of misery, a week of misery, a month of misery. I can't get out of my own way. I can't do it. So I just sit in it, and what's the old expression? You can't beat them, join them. And this is generally realized with your environment. That's what the epigenetic model is about. You are a product of your environment. If you are constantly waking up and going to sleep in this state, it will materialize in your reality, right? So how do you change that? How do you make a difference? Well, it's quite simple. You just start with one seed, one thread. And, the feeling aspect starts to evolve as you resonate with a high frequency, like Jade said, as you continually immerse yourself in this state. That's why people love to start with meditation, something that breaks the monotony of being a human being. They're like, oh, I had no idea if I just sit here silently for a minute, it changes the programming. Now, how dramatic or how little it is really determined by your sensory perception, but it will happen. So I'm changing the programming. I started with a meditation, and then people realize it's like, oh man, I really like this, and I'm so cool, I'm so relaxed, and I've gone on a retreat, I've done all these things, and then all of a sudden, I have to apply it to what I perceive as my reality, and you do the bed because it's not applicable. Like the whole point of like having your eyes open, being able to master this stuff, the way we talk about it, is this is your reality. The emotions are your fantasy.
Ooh, I like that.
Right? So when you understand this is where things start to get real comeuppance, realized power. Mm-hmm. Because that's the misconception. People believe those emotions, and it's like you know what you know, you don't know what you don't know. And so you start with a meditation. That gives you relief. It shows you there's something different in what you are experiencing every day. Take a moment, be still. Most people that have got real, like, tornado, Hurricane Katrina type stuff going on, which is most people, they can't do it. They're programmed to not do it. Then I can't spend 5 minutes just in silence. It's driving me nuts. I can't just sit still. What are you talking about? That's insane. And that's just your programming. That can still be shifted immediately. I can do that with anyone that says that I have the attention span of a gnat. Promise you, I will have that realized very, very quickly. Yet, some people will discover it's like, I need something. A therapist, a trainer, an exercise, a program, something. Get me distracted. And the distraction starts with that. Meditation, yoga, exercise, these are all fantastic gateways. And now you want to actually have it materialize so it's not conceptual. Oh man, I had the best yoga retreat weekend, had the best meditation. I did this thing, they call it breath work, whatever you call it. We can get into why that's not a good title. But listen, you're starting to dabble. You're starting to move these parts around to put the jigsaw together. This is amazing. This is where we want you to be. That charge you're getting right now, and you're realizing this is the exciting part, because everyone has to have a certain starting point. Mm-hmm. There is no right or wrong. There is no wrong or right. And that's a realization of all things. And that's the Taoist model. Yin, yang, two sides of the mountain. You go up the mountain to a peak to have everything realized as one. You are the universe. The universe is you. When you're able to truly embody that as a realization, then you create magic, manifestation, and healing. But there is an entry point. Understand, okay, I've just identified. He's talking about all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, my emotions are controlling me. And that's the first point of healing. Lao Tzu reminds us of this. Being accountable for your behavior. Most people tend to be delusional. I speak on this. I talk to people all the time. The three Purons speak through me to everybody. My interactions with people are not truly have anything to do with me. They're just, I am the catalyst or conduit of information that transmutes through me, and it's pertinent to that individual for that event, place, person, or thing at that time. It's for them. And so I witness it. I stand back and I'm watching, Lao-Tzu give these people messages, and they're literally, it's like the Lego movie. Everything is awesome. And they're saying one thing and they're absolutely processing another. And there's a certain entry level where you know, you use the expression, you can lead a horse to water, but, if they don't drink, it's like there's nothing you can do about it. So with this understanding, depending upon where that person is in the cycle of their relationship with me, i.e., Lao-Tzu, the three pure ones, which is really the true nature of the relationship, there's an entry point. There's a point where people are in a level of denial, and that's okay, because you've got to start somewhere. But then there's a certain point where you're in an echo chamber where you're cherry picking what I'm saying, and you're using it and manipulating it to your advantage. And you're doing it consciously, and you're also doing it unconsciously. And that's why the echo chamber of being by yourself, discerning, affirming things, can be a very fine line until you really sink your teeth in. And I don't use this as a beware, be afraid. It's just a realization. It's like you're riding a bike and you don't know how to ride a bike. You have training wheels on. And then when you balance, and that's all got to do with energy, frequency, vibration, and you're balanced on the bike, you take the training wheels off. This is no different, the nature of it. So if you have someone that you can come to as a validator of your very experience as you're leveling up, because until you can palpate it and transmute it into your reality, 3D reality from a high dimension, it's conceptual. And that's where people struggle with it. They're on a journey. I do a meditation. I feel really relaxed. The second I get out of my meditation class, I go to the car, and someone bumps into me, and I want to rip their head off. It's like, did I just waste all my time right now? I just spent like an hour feeling in bliss. Like I access bliss, man. I'm just chill, bro. And then all of a sudden, I go to the car park, and someone bumps into me. I'm like, what's up, bro? You want some of this? It's like, where did this come from? Because there's a transfer of energy. And while you're operating in a duality, in this level up processes, your simulation is like, we talked about this before, there's this level of what we call, or has been coined by Monroe as the loosh. I just refer to it as a frequency, and they're in Taoism, these are lower frequencies, and their sole purpose is to distract you, and they siphon from your very energy, right? So if you engage with this, it becomes realized. And that's why whenever you get into an emotional conflict that takes your mind and your emotions, mental, emotional state, it will result in a physical state of exhaustion. You can try it with anything, anyone, it doesn't matter. You'll be like, oh my goodness, Sifu and Jade are right. Holy moly, what? Because it takes you a second to realize this. Everything is energy, frequency, vibration. So you start with that. You go, all right. So it's very important to find an infrastructure, a network that can validate your very experience, so that you're putting your intention to an actual mastery, because you have that ability. That's your default. You can master yourself at will. You're a creator. That's what the human model is about. You drop your consciousness into it, spirit, soul, however you want to define it as, and it's expressed in the human condition, creativity, default. And so then all bets are off. But if you're just plodding along, and then, as Jade says, I'm feeling angry, and angry is me, that's the new pink is anger, which is really green from a Taoist model. It's going to get kind of rough, only because you say so, only because you perceive it that way. It's just like this cycle. Okay, so what do we do about this? It's like, yeah, okay. So first you need to interrupt it. First you've come to this realization, you're listening to us. It's all happening right now. It's like, oh my goodness, they've ticked off all these spots. I come to this realization, my emotions are absolutely head screwing me on a daily. Let's get them under control. Nothing is out of the scope of your possibilities, because everything is possible, because that's the true nature of this anything. If you have an imagination, you have five senses, you're a human being, boom. I say that more and more because I come across more and more aliens on a daily basis. It's kind of mind blowing to me, and I morph in and out of people's auric fields, and it's like a fire sale. To be quite honest, I haven't in 30 years I haven't seen as many as I have recently in the last couple of months. People are merging into this understanding, and that's rippling effects into other dimensions, and by them attracting themselves to this very resonance, it materializes. It's like you're calling on it, and the universe is listening. And if you're resonating with it because it's a past life into this present moment, it's going to materialize.
Yeah, it's like that consciousness that you talked about in the beginning. All of a sudden you see the mic and you see the mic and you see the mic, and then you realize, oh, there's something new. I mean, we're living in this world and this environment, and we're seeing something new, whether it's an alien or different parts of the universe, or something as simple as, just walking past a restaurant and realizing they have a sign that has always been there, but you've never seen it. That's all consciousness, and it's happening every day with people all over the place.
All right, Jade. Jiao Shi. Sifu. How in Tao's name am I going to get there? Because I've just identified, me got a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Hey, look, it's not a problem. It's just a realization that perhaps maybe you were deceiving yourself. That's it. That's all. And now it's come up its time. It's level up its time. That's exactly what you're here for. So it's like, holy moly, boom, mic drop. Yeah. So you start with breaking the cycle, fractal pattern cycle, a behavioral thing. And that's why the old expression, like attracts like, is very much in a model of understanding, and it comes more from the electric and magnetic components, the polarizing effects of the universe that is the duality that you experience. And then you can ripple off into laws of all these other things. That's got nothing to do with the Taoist model, but it just generally transmutes into things that are parallel to within Taoism, because everything is electric and magnetic within a duality. Now, the comeuppance as a Taoist is the internal alchemy to have it realized so that you can focus on the magnetic fluidity that draws everything to you. And that's an inner alchemy thing. But let's just go for this. You start with an interruption. You realize your emotions are out of control. Either you woke up one day in a jail cell, or the back of a cop car, or perhaps maybe you had a sobering moment where you almost had a physical altercation with someone that you loved, and you're like, hey, what's going on here? Or you all of a sudden burn all the bridges in your relationships. It happens, and you're like, I was out of control. That's how real it is. That's why it's so sobering and refreshing to hear what we're saying here, because you know what I'm talking about, and you're living it, and it's controlling your very action. And that's the misdirection. You're not getting a high frequency. All these emotions are keeping you in a low frequency, and the differentiator is you stay in a duality. You can operate outside, you can operate in this duality from a high consciousness. Be very clear. That's how you create magic, manifestation, and healing. And what happens is that synchronicity means the second to none. That means that you think it becomes real. And that's all got to do with synchronicity. That's all got to do with coherence. Strike a match in a dark place. Right? So you interrupt. And in many cases you can ripple this into all different types of ways. You realize you have a problem, and it's a problem you've identified with as a problem. I don't identify with it as a problem. I identified with it as an excess from a Taoist model. It's an excess. We need to now regulate it and optimize the most out of that energy center by acquiring the virtue over the emotion. And that just comes with all got to do with energy. You don't have to worry about mummy not giving you milk and cookies when you're 4 and what that's rippling effects of. It's about the magnitude of the energy, frequency, vibration. And then once you regulate it, it dissipates. And if you keep getting more of the same, that's what happens in your life. More positive equals more positive. More oneness equals more oneness. More negative equals more negative. What's on the menu today? What are you interested in? That's why the old expression, is your glass half empty or full, is so profound in of itself. It answers all the questions you need to know about when it comes to identifying with creating manifestation, magic, healing, or not creating manifestation, magic, and healing, just from that simplicity. That's it. So start with an interrupt. Take 5 minutes, take a breath. That's what we bring to breath work. It's not work, ladies and gentlemen and ladies. This is where people tackle that. They don't realize the linguistics are part of the words, numbers, symbols, letters that are deeply integrated into the very essence and the fabric of your truth, your anchor within this realm. And that's an indicator that gives you this response. So understand that all you need to do is start with an interrupt. Take 60 seconds. Sit down and just be what they would consider mindful to your breath. We call it respiration. And just take 60 seconds. That means you're taking your mind off the prize, which is the catalyst, an emotion, anger, whatever. And then you all of a sudden have an identification that, holy shit, I can do this. What? What happened? I just took a second, 60 seconds. Like, no harm, no foul. That's always a great gateway, because then you don't have to be committed to anything. And you're not like, oh, man, I put in all this time, nothing happened. So if you're not emotionally committed to it, you go, I could take 60 seconds. I'll put it on a timer, see what happens. Ooh. And I mean, that's really what happened to me. I started my journey 30 years ago, and it was like that epic, right? It was like I'd never meditated before. I'd never done anything before. Didn't know what spirituality was. Didn't know anything. And I sat down. At the time, I was immersed in, bodybuilding, health and fitness, all that kind of stuff. So I was this big gorilla with these, muscles everywhere. I couldn't sit in that position. And I was supposed to put myself in a lotus position. And it was like literally, it was cringeworthy without question, because I couldn't do it. I just, massive legs, arms, everything. I was just like kind of like pretending to try and put myself in a lotus position that I couldn't cross my legs. And the teacher at the time, she was just like, now take a minute. Drop right in. And I'd never meditated, didn't even know anything about it. And she goes, and there was sounds in the background, ambulances, all this stuff. It's like all this noise going on. And I'm like, man, I don't know what this is supposed to be, but this is painful, man. I don't know. I'm going to sit here and listen to people screaming outside the building, ambulances going, just conflict everywhere. And it was literally that second. This is the part where I love reminding people how easy it is to obtain consciousness if you accept it at face value. Because I walked into a different sort of like category, going from health and fitness to so-called spirituality creates this different sort of mindset, perhaps, right? All it is a shift. And I'm sitting there hunched over looking like, just cringeworthy stuff. And then she goes, take a moment, take a breath in, and let everything, and I'm just like screaming, the yelling, the ambulances, and let everything fall away. Let the sound disappear. And you know what happened? Holy shit. It disappeared. I was like, get the whoa. It disappeared instantly. And I was like, I am onto something. something is merging within me and this whole thing that, and I was getting excited. Screw the 800-pound squats and the 48 hours of dumbbell arm curls. This is on the next level, that you can shift your reality like this very second. I don't know. It's like someone coming up and slapping you in the face and going, wake, because it was that dramatic. Because all it was said, oh, now let everything fall away. So you went from, imagine music blaring, everything else, and you're sitting in the same space where the music is blaring and it goes silent. You're like, holy moly, this is really happening. And it was just like, that was the seed of my journey. That was it. That's all it took. The gateway to reality. And, I know, that's why I always tell you, listen to Jade, listen to me, happened to her exactly the same way, quite frankly. We're twin flames. I don't know. No, but anyway, I'm just being a little bit of an ass right now. But her abilities on this journey that we've been on were epic, because she has a very similar access point that I do, and I instantly access these types of sensory perceptions. And again, at face value, that's it.
The simplicity, anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Childlike state. Mm-hmm. So you take 60 seconds, take a breath in, put your mind to your breath, let everything just disappear. And just be saying that, the audience can go, oh, that's kind of weird how he said that, and I kind of feel that. Mm-hmm. That's kind of strange. Not really. You're welcome. And so that understanding, that mechanism, is an inner layering of greater things. And so when you stay in that frequency, and trust me, I was oblivious to, I need to find my inner self. You are the field. You are the universe. You are all these things. All I did was follow the instruction and believe it. I had no reason to suspend disbelief, because my belief system was at face value, and that is the power and nature of all things. And where people get caught up, which is 99% of people, they're already in the psyop. They're compartmentalized. You must access the right brain to the left brain to merge it at one, and blah, 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 the front cortex, and blah, 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 blah. And, people start compartmentalizing the brain and how you access certain states of consciousness, brain waves. We go through that. We explain that. We understand that. And we teach it to people. But I'm giving you a gateway right now that can be realized, because there's a lot of neurology going on in your body that will validate what I'm saying right now, through the energetics. And you can have the aha moment that I had. And it's a state. It is a state. And once you get there, oh yeah, baby. Macho man. Yeah. Oh yeah. Or is it Hulk Hogan, whatever.
Or Mr. T.
Or Mr. T.
Mr.
T. I pity the fool. All this stuff. And so then you go deep in the Taoist. So start with this, guys. Take 60 seconds. And people that are more immersed into it, you can go through our library. You can go and get our app. You can do that. You can be leveling up right here, right now, instantaneously. Realize it. Take 60 seconds. Put your mind to your breath and watch it change. And because I've imprinted this, because I'm a little alchemist, Taoist master, stroke lineage holder, priest, and I'm realized as that, not only in this lifetime, but many before me, this is going to be an epic shift of change for you. So you take 60 seconds, take a breath, shut a sense down, close your eyes, take a moment, watch things start to percolate in with your eyes closed, and they'll start to create visual effects that you're like, oh, am I looking at a kaleidoscope? What is it?
Kaleidoscope.
Kaleidoscope. I keep getting that twisted. It's probably the dyslexia. One of my good friends that I just had recently on the podcast, she talks about that, and she had dyslexia. It was diagnosed as that. And she's an incredible being. And let me tell you, we think of things differently. That's what's up. And that's all it takes for you to change your state. So do that. Take a breath, take a moment, and put your intention to it and watch that shift. Because that's the first thing. And then you start to repeat it. So you increase the length of time. And then you can go out and start doing this within another environment, because the key is you want to have your eyes open and be able to stay in this state and not be subjected to your subjective behavior, which is the story of your life experiences that generate your very simulation. And when you do that, all bets are off. And so start with the breath, close your eyes, take a moment. And now what I suggest, and Jade and I would be on the same path as this, is doing this when you're in an emotional state. But generally speaking, most people wouldn't even know that they're in it because they're in it. But let's just say you got to your next level and you realized this through our podcast. While I'm emotional, let me take a second, just the way they said, and I'm going to just take 60 seconds and see what happens. Watch the amplitude of change. And as you start to build the actual mechanisms that you can move the energy, it'll happen in light speed. And that comes from the mastery. That's why we have an app that gives you access to that, creating the brain waves that puts you in that state. Because the other rippling effects of what you're doing, even on face value, you don't know it, you are evoking a brain wave that gives you the ability to change this. So there's the face value of moving the energy, moving the state, moving that realization on a much deeper understanding of the architecture. There's brainwaves that are transmitted that make it possible, right? And that's the first comeuppance of the emotion. Any other suggestion?
No, I mean, I think
I think that on a face value, someone that's just started this is very simple.
And you can validate it for yourself and test it anywhere for yourself.
Right.
It's like, you get cut off on the freeway, you practice it on that. You get reprimanded at work and you feel frustrated or upset, you practice it on that.
Right.
You get in a fight with your friend or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you can test it on that.
Right. Right. And that's why we love to do our little exercises at the end of this little journey. And this will be one of them. We are going to take you through the exercise, just be saying it, oh my goodness, I'm feeling energy already. Oh my. And so that's just the attunement, guys. That's what happens. And so when you start to drop into the breath, which we're going to do, it's going to be, that's your main, that's the only thing you're going to put your intention to. And you're going to watch an instant buildup of energy within your physical body. And it will change your state. And I'm going to add a little incantation that will drop you in at a faster rate. And that's really the power of what we speak of. And just like I had my, blammo moment, let everything just fall away, is the power of how you access consciousness, the simplicity of it. You're feeling a little relaxed, are you, Jim? Mm-hmm. Do you have any closing thoughts, feelings, or emotions that you would like to share with the audience?
I love how you ask me when I'm always like,
I'm kind of already there, bro. It's like, hang on, I got my buzz on. Really, I just got. Are you a Buzz Killington right now? Is that what you're doing? I'm getting my buzz on. I'm getting my drink on. I don't want to be in this. All thoughts, feelings, emotions. I would say that's a no. Mm-hmm. I would say that you're completely already there, and.
Yeah, no, I do just think it's important to realize that like everything is a choice and you have a choice and you are not controlled by anything. Once you realize that, now implementing that is the next step. Right. And like you said, you have the choice to take 60 seconds, take a deep breath, be present in that moment. and then watch everything else just ripple, because it is a ripple. It's like that, little tiny drop that makes another ripple in the water in the pond, and then another ripple, and then another ripple. It just keeps getting bigger and brighter and better, and validate it for yourself.
And we don't sugarcoat it so it becomes more realized. And all the internal alchemy stuff, thousands and tens of thousands of years of practice, is what makes it repeatable for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, you start there, you get a taste. Most people get a taste, and then they're like, I can't repeat it. It was only when I was present with Sifu and Jade, and that starts there. Look, you're on this journey, and it can be realized really fast. You want techniques that actually have been used for generations, for tens of thousands of years. Call me, because that's what it takes. And so you start there and you do the exploration. You get it done. That's how it works. And then it's pliable. It's very pliable. So with that said, find a comfortable position. And because I've attuned and printed the energy within my very voice, this has a palpability to it, and a nature, and a tangibility, just from my very echoing of the sound of my voice, has put you into a state of relaxation. You're welcome. Now with that, all I want you to do is put your intention to your breath, and just breathe in and out comfortably. And I will sync the rest. I'll sync you with Jade, with the audience, and you'll start to feel the density that comes from that. And all you're doing is putting your intention to your breath. That's it. And it's like, that's so strange, Sifu. It's like dense. It's like it's building on itself. You're welcome. And the more you just breathe in and out, the more it's starting to, you can feel the physicality of it, where it's literally moving with your breath. You're starting to sort of oscillate at a certain pace that comes with it. This is the magnitude of what we speak of, guys. The density. Yeah. That's right. Go a little deeper in that breath, and I'll turn it in. And you're finding this sort of like wiggling point right in the center of your chest as it sort of moves you, as you focus your intention on your breath, and it's building that density. And so you're moving, you're oscillating at this rate. That's right. Now let everything fall away. Perfection. Let everything unravel, and let it express itself. No title, just being. And as you float away, as you realize the magnitude of the energy that's generated in your physical body, take a deep breath in, exhale, and hold that. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Yes, that's how fast you express energy. And it builds on itself. And now your breath is even more in tune. Now just be with that. Anything from a distance, whoever's hearing me presently or from a distance, let that express itself. Let it realize. Whether you're here for a minute or an hour, allow yourself everything that you need right here, right now. And with that, I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master Sun Ching, and I will see you on the next one, guys.